This is Mortar is meant for Slavs, episode 1. I am son of Big Dog.
And I am Mooo 2.0.
We are getting co-hosted by YardDutyBilly.
That's
say
me.
hello. That is you. On today's episode, the first episode, we're going to be talking about the UAZ-469.
Before we get started, I really quickly want to say, if you're interested specifically in any section, you can visit the YouTube channel in the description. And if you have any questions or want to leave any comments, or if you think we left something out, please leave a comment in the video below.
We'll be checking our comments section regularly, so yeah.
Yeah, and if you are watching on YouTube, you can look at our gameplay of Mud Runner in the background as you listen.
The UAZ-469. It was the successor to the GAZ-69, which was the older model. It was used by the Soviet Union for many years. It was slow and wasn't very good at its job, but it got it done. So the Soviet Union decided, it's probably the best of our interest to get a vehicle that works better and was better at its task. So that's how the UAZ-469 was created. It was created by the UAZ company, and I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the Russian name for the company, but it was created by UAZ.
Alright, so real quick, I think the main, really important thing we should point out is the difference between the civilian and the military models. Big Dog, if you want to point out the differences real quick.
I would love to. So there's two different models, and they both went off two different names. The UAZ-469, which was the military variant, and the UAZ-469B, which was the civilian variant. Now, the main difference between the two is that the military version had a ride height of 330 millimeters, and the civilian had 200 millimeters off the ground. And this was due to the fact that the military version would be doing more of the off-roading and going around in the mud and rocks of the Russian wilderness.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about it, like its speed or something.
Oh, I would love to. The UAZ-469 was kind of slow. It only went 100 kilometers an hour on road. But that's like, but let's be honest here, 100 kilometers max isn't usually what you're going to be doing. Another thing to note about the military version is that it had a skid tray for its electrical system, so it helped it from not getting damaged and or harmed in any which way.
Yeah, I think another difference between the military and the civilian version was the ability for the military version to have a medical utility, which made it include a stretcher and a place in the back for nurses to sit. There was also an interesting prototype. This was not technically part of the military version, but it's just a prototype. It's an amphibious vehicle with that was called the Jaguar, and was powered by two propellers amphibiously attached to the front of the rear axle.
Which, to be honest with you, what's the real purpose of using an amphibious version of an SUV when you're not going to be near water with it? So that's why only, I think, one prototype was made for obvious reasons.
Yeah, correct.
Later in the 80s, the UAZ-469 was remarked to the 3151 for the military version, and for the civilian, it was remarked to the 31512. And there was also another variant, which we won't mention here, because there's not a lot of information on it, but it was called the 3153, which was the long wheel-based version.
So we were just talking about the top speed and the different variants, but I think we should move on to the different engines. Specifically, the main engine that was used across all the UAZ models is a 4-cylinder inline engine.
It was the same engine that was used in the GAZ-69.
So the interesting bit about this engine is that it ran on 76 octane petrol, which 76 octane is very low compared to what we see at a gas station. We see 87, 89, 91. In parts of Europe, we see higher octane ratings like 95, even up to 100. So it's really interesting how it ran on a low octane. That's what really stands out to me.
But keep in mind that the UAZ-469 was in Russia, so they didn't really have the capabilities to get some of the higher octane, and plus time period. A lot of the other cars at the time also ran on stuff that was close to that range.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that is understandable.
So, okay, yeah. So another thing to note about the UAZ is that it has been used since the 70s, as stated, but it's still being used today. Some of the old 80s models and some of the newer 2000 models are being used still. So it kind of shows how good the UAZ is for its job that the Russian army hasn't changed it out yet.
Yeah, reliability is very high on this vehicle, or at least practicality.
It's also very resilient.
Billy, do you have any questions so far about what we've covered?
Let me think actually. I heard something about the gas, and there might be some similarities between that and the UAZ. Is that true?
Well, yes and no. Like, they both serve the same purpose, and I'm pretty sure they're relatively the same length. But in reality, there are two separate things. Because I'll quickly search it up, but I'm pretty sure the gas was used in the 40s. So, okay, yeah, the gas 69 was made in 53. I was close, but later was changed over to the UAZ company in 1954.
Okay, so it's like a variation of the gas then.
It used a lot of the stuff was similar, but they were their own separate entities, if that makes any sense.
I see.
Yeah, another thing, the gas also was just a kind of a worse vehicle in general. It still had a similar like 4-cylinder engine, but it was a smaller capacity engine, only 2.1 liters compared to the UAZ as 2.45 liters. It also was not able of achieving 100 kilometers per hour like the UAZ.
If I'm not wrong, the gas only reached the top speed of 60, or it might be 90. I'm not entirely sure, but it also, compared to the UAZ, had a 3-speed, instead of the UAZ's 4 at the beginning of its manufacturing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's kind of difficult to reach high top speed when you only got 55 horsepower.
Yeah, especially when you're going across the mud and such.
I see.
So, Mooo, is there anything that you would like to put on to anything that was stated?
I think we should move on to the transmission, because there's some really interesting information about the transmission of the UAZ.
The UAZ-469 had a 4-speed at the beginning of its life. At the beginning of its life. So that would be, if I'm not wrong, it would be 4 speeds forward and 1 speed back. So it could reach its top speed faster, if I'm not wrong, compared to the 3-geared. But later in development, after it was remarked to the 3151, it was changed to a
Interesting.
They also, both UAZ models had a option for a high gear and a low gear, if I'm not wrong. So basically, in simple terms, Mooo, do you have any way that you can explain this?
Yeah, I think so. Basically, just a simple like surface level explanation would be: high gear is for going fast, and low gear is for going slow, but also going up hills or towing a heavy weight. So, like you just mentioned, Big Dog, it has a 2-speed transfer case in addition to its transmission, and the two kind of gear ratios it has on that transfer case are, if I'm not mistaken, 1.47 and 1.94. So the way it would work is 1.94. Even it's kind of counterintuitive. It is a higher number, but that means it's a lower gear ratio, and it's used for more torque and more slow speed activities, whereas the high setting, the 1.47, would be used for like just cruising on a nice asphalt road at the cruising speed of around 90 kilometers per hour. Again, the speeds of these things are relatively slow.
Yeah, and even as stated, if you really think about it, with the Soviet Union and even Russia now, a lot of the vehicles can be kind of seen as what's the best words? They're reliable, but at the same time, some of the things aren't up to code. So it would be easier for them to nicest words, accidentally blow up.
Yeah, not the most cutting edge technology is used in these vehicles.
I mean, well, that's not even a bad thing because the simpler technology makes it an easier fix. That was one of the greatest things with the UAZ, is that because of its simplicity in engine and electronics, it was a quick fix instead of, especially the Western vehicles or Japanese vehicles, how they had a lot of the electronics in them that all did different things. So those vehicles were harder to fix than the UAZ.
I see, interesting.
A lot of the Russian vehicles are easier to fix due to their simplicity, which makes owning one easier.
Alright, so just a few more bits and bobs about the UAZ. Just the pretty standard brakes and suspension. All 4 brakes were drum brakes, which at the time was relatively normal. In the front, it had spring suspension with a transverse stabilizer. And in the rear, it had just simple leaf springs, again, pretty normal for the time. And it's a strategic, cost-effective way to get a vehicle that can be mass-produced and, like you said, easily repaired.
Yeah, because a lot of the mechanisms were very simple in their concept and design.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it could be for its benefit or it could be for its downfall, because the simplicity at times can be, more unreliable. The UAZ, weight-wise, it was relatively light. I mean, I'll show a picture on screen, but it's very, what's the best word? Very simplistic in its interior design. It had everything that you needed: seats, a dashboard, and that's basically it.
Yeah. It was very lightweight actually for a truck. Had 1,650 kilograms of carb weight, and the max gross weight was 2,450 kilograms. So what? That's like around 800. Yeah, exactly 800 kilograms of like capacity for people and cargo, which is pretty good for a truck at the time.
Billy, do you have anything that you would like to ask about?
Would you like to talk about just like how big the truck is, maybe? Like,
I just looked into it. If you want to know the exact dimensions, at least for the standard model UAZ, it had a length of 4.025 meters, 1.7. It was 1.78 meters wide, and 2.05 meters tall. I don't know what that is in American units, but that's pretty standard for, said, an SUV at the time.
Yeah. But I mean, even that being said, wouldn't you consider it to be quite small?
Yeah, especially for its purpose as a transport vehicle, it is quite small. But I guess that being smaller and lightweight makes it more efficient, which is good because it saves fuel, obviously.
Yeah.
So has its pros and cons, definitely.
I mean, plus this might it has a really small fuel tank anyways, only being 78 liters, which I think a lot of the other vehicles at the time had something closer to 100 or 140 liters.
Yeah, the small fuel tanks definitely just shows its design is not that modern, but yeah.
Or it's not meant for long duty purposes. It's not meant to go across long
distances.
long
Yeah.
distances.
Yeah, just long distances. I don't know what I was trying to add on to it. Billy, do you have anything that you would like to?
Honestly, not too much. Is it like very fuel heavy, do you think?
It's a 2-liter, so no, not at all.
Not at all.
Oh.
Okay.
And it's also it's also a 4-cylinder, so in respective terms, 4 cylinders, they're usually very what's the word? They're good on fuel most of the time. I mean, there's probably some vehicle out there that has really crappy fuel efficiency that's 4-cylinder, but most of the time they're usually good on fuel. Than other things like a 6-cylinder or even an 8-cylinder, which are very common. Those can be very costly.
I see.
Yeah, I believe its exact its average fuel efficiency was 8.3 kilometers per liter, which is approximately, I want to say this in miles per gallon.
I have no idea how that conversion works.
It should be around 25 to 30, if I'm not mistaken. It's pretty standard for a 4-cylinder efficient engine. Pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that conversion was kind of difficult for me to get.
Yeah, it's a very inaccurate conversion. I apologize.
I mean, even then, that's basically an estimate because we don't know who's using the vehicle. That's like factory. We're testing it, quote unquote, on all different personality types.
Yeah.
Well, personality drivers, because some people like to do the long distance hauling while others don't. So
Yeah.
it's a guesstimate.
Okay. And like, there's like a civilian version, as you said, right? So I could
Yeah.
get this truck or like this car actually, or SUV,
SUV.
SUV. That's the right term. I could get it right now if I wanted to.
You could. Though like things like this can be quite difficult, especially due to the war that's going on.
Oh yeah,
There,
that's true.
because I'm Canadian myself, they would cost about 16 grand, which that's only getting it the vehicle itself. That's not counting things such as the license or anything of the sorts. Because you do need a license to get vehicles over from different countries.
Like, bro, do you think you'd recommend this SUV or like?
Yeah, personally, I mean, it's with the vehicle itself, especially with its age, its engine's gonna be very poor now, due to, like I said, if you're getting a just a regular standard 469 from God who knows when it was made, the engine's not gonna be in tip-top condition. And it's also, especially with the way that a lot of the other vehicles at the time, so like Ladas or any other Russian made vehicles, they're very rust heavy, so they rust very easily. But otherwise, if you want a car just to screw around in, I recommend getting it. It would be a fun vehicle to have if you're the type who likes Jeeps or going off-roading, stuff like that. But if you're like an average person who isn't into stuff like that, probably not. There's probably better alternatives. Or even if you still want a UAZ-469, just get the 2000s version. Since one, it's more modern and it has more of the modern tech, but you're still going to be getting that feel that it's from the or like even just a car for fun. So nothing like a race car or like those kind of fun cars, drift cars, etc.
Yeah.
But more of the person who likes to go out in farm fields and just boot it around the farm.
Yeah. I think the main difficulty in like an average US or Canadian citizen owning one of these for fun would be acquiring the correct fuel. 76 octane fuel is just really rare over here in North America. So that would pose a challenge.
The thing is with that is that especially the engines, they can run on the higher octane that we use here. Sure, they're designed to be used on those lower octanes, but I was doing some research a couple months ago. You can run it on the higher octane.
Oh, that's good at least. That's good. So people can like reasonably bring these over and use them in a practical way.
You're running off of 70s tech. So that engine is probably on the end at the end of its life. So who knows, like 200, like at least 100,000 kilometers, probably even more.
Yeah.
Like, what would be the drawbacks of using like a higher octane fuel rather than what it's designed for?
Oh, good question.
I think the main drawback would just be the way octane works. It's based off the ECU timing of the engine, which is ECU is the engine control unit, right? So it would just be run a little bit off in a way. I guess it would still run.
It would also run, but it would probably. Sorry for interrupting your streak on words, but it would probably oh good. Misfiring would probably be a big one on that. But I'll let you continue if you know of any other solutions to fix that.
I don't really know of any solutions, honestly, other than just using the right fuel. I think there could be some way to dilute the fuel.
Yeah.
Maybe with like used vegetable oil. I've seen that done with diesels. Perhaps mixing higher octane gasoline with some amount of used vegetable oil could potentially solve some of these issues. But that's just a wild guess. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, I'll search it up. What's the thing on using higher octane fuel on a car or an engine that's meant to use lower octane. Along with lower octane fuel, the gas pump. Wait, hold on. While switching to fuel with higher octane rating will do no damage to your vehicle, it is unlikely that there will be any obvious difference in gas mileage.
That's interesting.
Would that be just for a small difference, like between 87 and 91, or like a even bigger differences like this?
I don't think there would be any difference in general, but I'm just gonna say it right now. Like I've stated it multiple times, that engine is gonna be the biggest downfall. Your best bet is probably to find even a Volkswagen Beetle, something that's small, like a small engine, that would be a good switch in.
Yeah. So what I'm mostly getting is that this is like a collector's SUV, I guess.
Collector's SUV, yeah, or someone who wants it and wants to drive it here and then. It's not something that should be your daily driver.
Yeah, makes sense.
Two, since like I said, it rusts easily, it's probably going to be used out of some sort of steel or something similar to that. So that does kind of pull into question how safe it's going to be, especially for it being, if you're getting some of the older vehicles, a 70s vehicle, that it is probably going to be very rustful, especially since if you want to get one of these vehicles, you're probably going to be ordering it from Germany, Ukraine, Russia, Belarus, even Czech Republic. I've seen those countries sell those. Motor Investments is a good one if you want to get vehicles like that. They're I think they're based in Czechia, and they have vehicles that range from the UAZ-469 all the way up to T80 tanks. So,
Wow.
yeah, I've heard good things about the website and buying off it. They have a YouTube channel and they're actually legit. They do have the vehicles, I hope. I'll pull that to the question later if I get one.
So I do actually have a question. Is this website only for like Slavic vehicles, or does it also import like other like JDM vehicles and other sorts?
Motor Investments is only for like old Russian vehicles. Like I've only seen things like ZIL-131s, UAZ-469s, and some even more baffling ones. I've seen MiG-21 put on that website.
Wow. So that they also sell aircraft.
They sell everything.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know like they would be allowed to sell like used Russian military jets, but that's interesting.
Well, I mean, the jets themselves. I mean, now that mentioning it, some random person's gonna see this and go, "Ah, yes, I'm gonna go buy it," and then go get it to work because the vehicles are like stripped, so they don't have any electronics. But there's gonna be, like I said, some mad lad on the internet who goes, "Ah, yes, this is what I want to do with my free time: fix a MiG." But another thing with it is you need a military exporting license. So if you have any questions on that, I will answer them right now. So as stated, the UAZ-469 is a military vehicle. It is meant for the purpose mostly of being used by the army. But here's the kicker: you don't need a military license for it, since it's not something like a T80 tank. It's not something that packs firepower. I'm guessing is what a military license is for. Mooo and or Yard, if you want to search that up, be my guest.
Yeah, I'm guessing a military license just for something that could that's classified as a weapon, like directly. I mean, like a tank is like a weapon itself, but like a SUV isn't really a weapon. It's more like just a military vehicle.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting though. How a lot of different laws surrounding like importation of foreign vehicles and military equipment.
Yeah. I don't know, it's kind of baffling to me that you can get stuff like that on the not on the dark web, but like the public internet.
Yeah.
So like if you go on Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, you can just search up T80 tank for sale, and it'll actually probably bring you to Motor Investments or even eBay. But I haven't. Okay, one thing on the military exporting stuff, I've also seen things such as not Abrams, Shermans. I've seen the Shermans also be being sold.
Would those need? Well, those are American-built tanks, right? So they wouldn't need an import license, but just a
You would need a military export license or import license, I guess. No, export.
Oh, for getting them into Canada.
Canada or like, even Russia or something like that, you would need an export.
Okay, I see.
So yeah, basically the guideline is anything that's that, as you said, has firepower in it would probably need a military license. While something like also, as you said, the UAZ-469 would need just a regular license.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So is there any other questions from either of you?
Personally, not really, to be honest.
Yeah, I think we've more or less covered all the intricacies of the US.
Yeah.
Yeah.
469. Yeah. As we said in the beginning, if we got anything wrong, please let us know. We're willing to fix anything that we've said that was wrong. Which, if we do ever redo this video, we'll definitely correct it in the future.
Yes.
Yeah, and let us know what future vehicles, because we're always interested in learning about more vehicles. Let us know what vehicle you'd like to be featured on this podcast.
Yeah, so keep in mind we're not doing anything that's like American built or anything like that. We're focusing on to those Slavic regions, so Ukraine, Russia, I think Poland even. There's probably a couple other countries that I failed to mention.
Yeah.
But any vehicles that were created in those regions is what we're focusing on. So.
And yeah, if you enjoyed, make sure to like it on whichever platform you're looking at this on. And
yeah. Share
leave
it
a
as well.
comment.
Leave a comment, share to friends or other people who would be interested, family. We were Mud Tires Meant for Slavs. Hope y'all have a good day. Hello, it is Son of Big Dog again. I would like to give some credit to Plain English for recording the audio to the podcast. Derek Fiechter for the music that was used in the background. He has some amazing work, and I'd recommend checking out his music. And last but not least, we got a Mooo version 2. He did the video editing for this episode, so mega thanks to him. Anyways, bye-bye.
Hi, this is Mucho Puendo, and I would also like to thank YardDutyBilly for the thought-provoking and insightful questions he contributed to the podcast. Thank you as well to the creators of the sources we used. We have linked those in the description for further research. And thank you all so much for listening or watching our first episode of Slavic Mud Tires.